Peppa Pig and the Camping Trip. Peppa Pig and her brother George are very excited. They're going on a vacation. Daddy Pig is bringing a surprise. "What's that?" asked Peppa when Daddy Pig arrives. "It's a camper van," says Daddy Pig. "Yes," says Mommy Pig. "We boarded it for our trip." "It does everything," says Daddy Pig. "This button here is for the sink. This one is for the beds." "The beds?" asked Peppa. "Just wait," says Daddy Pig. "The camper van is full of surprises." After a long drive, Peppa and her family arrive at the campsite. "It's time for bed," says Daddy Pig. "But where will we sleep?" asked Peppa. "Mommy Pig and I will sleep on this bed," says Daddy Pig. "And you two will sleep upstairs like you always do," says Mommy Pig. Daddy Pig pushes a button. The camper van's roof is lifting up. "The camper van is just like our little house," says Peppa. The next morning, the sun is shining. "Since we're outdoors, let's spend the day looking at nature," says Mommy Pig. "Good idea," says Daddy Pig. "What should we do?" "Well, there are lots of places we can visit," says Mommy Pig. "How about Duckland?" "What's Duckland?" asked Peppa. "It's a wide river full of ducks," says Mommy Pig. "Peppa and George love ducks. Let's go to Duckland," says Peppa. When they arrive at Duckland, Miss Rabbit gives them their tickets. "Enjoy the ducks," she says. "But the river is empty. Where are the ducks?" asked Peppa. "Maybe they're on vacation too," says Mommy Pig. "Let's wait for them while we have our picnic lunch." "I don't like to wait, Mommy," says Peppa. "Cheer up, Peppa. The ducks always turn up when we have picnics," says Daddy Pig. "Look," says Peppa. "It's the ducks. There are lots of them. All the ducks' brothers and sisters are here, and auntie and uncles. I bet too," says Peppa. "What about Granny and Grandpa ducks?" asks Mommy Pig. "They're here too," says Peppa. It's a whole duck family. I love Duckland. Quack, 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 quack." Soon it's time to head back to the campsite. Everybody in," says Daddy Pig. "I know a shortcut back to the camp." "A shortcut? Where are we going?" "Straight ahead," shouts Daddy Pig. The camper van creeps towards the river's edge. "But Daddy," says Peppa, "we can't drive into the water." "Don't worry," says Daddy Pig. Mommy Pig pushes a button on the dashboard. "Like I said, this camper van does everything." Daddy Pig drives straight into the river. The camper van has turned into a boat. Ahoy! Peppa and her family arrive back at the campsite. "What will we do next?" asked Peppa. "How about a nature walk?" asked Mommy Pig. "Splendid idea," says Daddy Pig. "The camper van has a treadmill, of course. We'll set it up with a nice view of trees." Peppa laughs. "But Daddy, we can't just walk through the woods." Peppa and George love to take walks outside. They spot lots of animals. They see a bird, a grasshopper, and a hedgehog. "Hello, hedgehog," says Peppa. Peppa and George keep walking. "Look at all the sticks. Look at all the sticks on the ground," says Peppa. "Daddy Pig told us to collect some on our nature walk. I wonder what they're for." "We'll use them to cook our dinner," says Mummy Pig. "But first, we'll have to pitch our tent." "Tent?" asked Peppa. "What about the camper van?" "No camper van tonight," says Mummy Pig. "We're going to sleep under the stars instead. Everyone helps pitch the tent." "This is the same tent I had when I was a little boy," says Daddy Pig. "It looks a bit little," says Peppa. "It suited me just fine then," says Daddy Pig. "Yes, but you've grown since then, Daddy Pig," says Mummy Pig. "And your tummy has grown most of all," Peppa giggles. "Speaking of tummies, it's time for supper," says Mummy Pig. Daddy Pig builds the fire. They all eat tomato soup. "Time for bed," says Daddy Pig. Peppa and George snuggle into sleeping bags. Stars shoot across the sky above their heads. "Do you miss the camper van, Peppa?" asks Mummy Pig. "Oh no," says Peppa, "unless it has a button for shooting stars." They all giggle. "I love camping!" The end. What is your favorite part of the story? My favorite part of the story is when they go to Duckland. First they thought there were no ducks, but then thousands of ducks came. Peppa Pig best friends. Once upon a time, Peppa's best friend Susie Sheep came to play. "I have something to show you," said Susie. Susie held up a photograph of a baby sheep. "Look, it's me," said Susie. "You're not a baby, Susie," said Peppa, shaking her head. "This is an old photo," Susie explained. "It was taken when I was a baby." Peppa snorted. She didn't remember Susie being a baby. That was just silly. Susie pointed at Peppa. "In the olden days, you were a baby too," she said. "I don't remember being a baby," said Peppa. "But you were," insisted Susie. "Ask your mommy." Peppa and Susie raced inside. Mummy Pig was working on the computer. "Mummy," said Peppa, "Susie is making up stories." "No, I'm not," Susie said. Peppa told Mummy about Susie's silly idea. "I don't remember being a baby," Peppa insisted. "But you were a baby, Peppa," said Mummy Pig. Mummy Pig pulled up a picture of a baby pig on the computer. "Who do you think that is, Peppa?" she asked. Peppa thought that the baby looked like a cousin, baby Alexander. "Is it baby Alexander?" she asked. "No," replied Mummy Pig. "That's you as a baby, Peppa." Peppa was surprised. She had been a baby. Hee hee, hee hee. Peppa and Susie giggled. Baby Peppa looked very cute. George and Daddy Pig came to see what all the fuss was about. "Look, Daddy," said Peppa. "That's me as a baby." "I remember it," said Daddy Pig. "That photo was taken on our first date in this house." "What do you mean?" said Peppa. Daddy Pig told Peppa, Susie, and George that they had moved into their house when Peppa was very little. We brought all our things to the top of our car, he said. Mummy Pig put up some pictures, said Daddy Pig. Daddy Pig put up a shelf, said Mummy Pig, and Grandpa Pig made us a lovely flower garden. Peppa and Susie went outside. There was no flower garden at this house. Why don't we have a flower garden now? Peppa asked. We used to, but Daddy Pig looked after it, Mummy Pig sighed. Said Daddy Pig, embarrassed. We had the wrong kind of soil for flowers. Was Susie my friend in the olden days? Asked Peppa. Daddy Pig nodded. Of course, he said. Hee hee. You and Susie have always been best friends. Peppa wondered what games she played with Susie when they were little. Did we jump up and down in muddy puddles? She asked. No, Mummy Pig laughed. You were babies. You couldn't even walk yet. Then you grew into toddlers, continued Mummy Pig, and you played together all the time. But where was George? Peppa asked. He was a baby in my tummy, said Mummy Pig. Peppa thought for a moment. Daddy Pig's tummy was even bigger than Mummy's. Is there a baby in there? She asked. No, Peppa, chuckled Daddy. This tummy is pure muscle. Soon George was born, Mummy Pig said, and Granny and Grandpa Pig brought him a very special present. Can you guess what it was, Peppa? Peppa knew just what present it must have been. Mr. Dinosaur, she cried. Goo goo gah. Daddy Pig said that little Peppa and Susie like to do everything together. They like to jump, hee hee, and dance, la la la, la la la, and run all over the place, snort, bah. Then one day, said Mummy Pig, you saw something amazing. A muddy puddle. You loved jumping up and down in muddy puddles together, said Mummy Pig. Peppa, George, and Susie all ran outside. I still love muddy puddles, cried Peppa. Me too, cried Susie. Peppa, George, and Susie looked for the biggest muddy puddle they could find and jumped right in it. Daddy Pig brought his camera. Let's take a photo of you, Susie and George. Now Peppa, he said. Yes, exclaimed Peppa, because Susie and I were best friends in the olden days, and we're still best friends now. Click. Little or big, Peppa and Susie will always be best friends, and they'll always love jumping up and down in muddy puddles. The end. What was your favorite part of the story? My favorite part of the story is where Peppa thought that she and Susie were jumping up and down in muddy puddles, but they were just babies and they couldn't even walk yet. Peppa Pig, the Tooth Fairy. Once upon a time, there was a clever little pig named Peppa. She was very proud of her teeth. Grunt, grunt, brush, brush. Peppa and her brother George knew how to take care of their teeth. They brushed them every morning and every evening. Peppa and George loved playing dentist. Peppa would pretend to be the dentist, and George would be her assistant. George's toy dinosaur was the patient. What lovely clean teeth you have, Mr. Dinosaur, Peppa smiled. Grrr, said George. One day after playing their dentist game, Peppa and George were eating their dinner. Suddenly, something fell onto Peppa's plate. Clatter, clatter. It made Peppa jump. What's that? She asked. Ho, ho. It's a tooth, Daddy Pig laughed. But where is it from? Asked Peppa. Why don't you look in the mirror? Said Mummy Pig. Peppa looked. She had a big gap in her teeth. Oh no! Peppa cried. Do we need to go see Dr. Elephant? Ho, ho, ho. No, said Mummy Pig. It's just a baby tooth. It's meant to fall out. A baby tooth? What's that? Asked Peppa. A baby tooth is a tooth that falls out when you're young, explains Mummy Pig. A new one will grow in its place. What should I do with my baby tooth? Asked Peppa. If you place it under your pillow, the tooth fairy will come. She'll take your tooth and leave a shiny new coin, said Mummy Pig. That evening, while Peppa watched the television with her family, she kept thinking about the tooth fairy. When I grow up, I want to be a tooth fairy, said Peppa. Daddy Pig chuckled. What about you, George? Asked Daddy Pig. George pointed at his dinosaur. Dinosaur, he growled. Hee hee hee. Come on, George, shouted Peppa. We don't want to miss the tooth fairy. They both ran upstairs to get ready for bed. What are you doing, Peppa? Asked Daddy Pig. Peppa was carefully brushing her baby tooth. I want it to be nice and clean for the tooth fairy, said Peppa. Snort, snort. Peppa tucked the tooth under her pillow. Are you sure the tooth fairy will be able to find it? She asked. I promise, said Mummy Pig. Just you wait and see. Good night, Peppa and George. Good night, Mummy. Good night, Daddy. Hee hee hee. I'm going to wait up all night for the tooth fairy, Peppa said. George, let's not sleep. George smiled and nodded. Peppa waited and waited. Snore, snore, snore. She could hear something. Is that the tooth fairy? Peppa wondered. George, she whispered, did you hear that? Can you see the tooth fairy? She climbed down to look at George. He was fast asleep. It was him making the noise. I'm much better at staying awake than George, Peppa sighed. She settled back in her bed. After a while, her eyes started to close. She quickly opened them again. I'm going to stay awake and see the tooth fairy, Peppa said to herself firmly. Snore, snore, but you're soon asleep. Tinkle, tinkle, what was that? It was the tooth fairy. Hello, Peppa, she whispered. Would you like a coin in exchange for your tooth? The tooth fairy gently took Peppa's tooth from under the pillow and put a shiny coin in its place. What a lovely clean tooth, the fairy said. Thank you very much. Flutter, flutter, flutter. The next morning, Peppa found the shiny coin under her pillow. Mummy, the tooth fairy did come after all, she shouted, jumping up and down. Oh, I wish I had seen the tooth fairy, Peppa sighed. Next time, I'm definitely going to stay awake all night. Snort, hee hee. The end. What is your favorite part of the story? My favorite part of the story is the tooth fairy finally came, and Peppa was so happy that she got her tooth. A pig. When I grow up. Today in school, Madame Griselle asked the children what they would like to be when they grow up. She has a basket full of fun hats for them to choose from. The children are so excited. The children are so excited to dress up. They run to the basket, each grab their items. Madame Griselle, I don't know what I want to be when I grow up, Peppa says. Don't worry, Peppa. You have plenty of time to think about it, Madame Griselle replies. You can use the costumes to help you decide. Rebecca Rabbit knows what she wants to be when she grows up. She wants to be a queen. Queens get to wear crowns and tell others what to do. Emily Elephant wants to be a teacher. Wonderful, says Madame Griselle. Teachers are very important. What is it about being a teacher that you like most, Emily? Teachers get to be in charge, Emily replies. I see, says Madame Griselle. I want to be a police officer when I grow up, says Freddy Fox. The police drive cars with flashing lights and sirens. Me too, says Wendy Wolf. She's dressed up as a sheriff. A sheriff is a kind of police officer who is in charge of all the other police officers. Thank you, Freddie and Wendy. What else do you like about being a police officer? Asked Madame Griselle. They tell others what to do, reply Freddie and Wendy. Next, it was Susie Sheep's turn to share. I like to be a doctor or a nurse, says Susie Sheep. How lovely! Why do you think you would like that job, Susie? Asks Madame Griselle. Because they help someone who is sick to get better, and they tell others what to do, Susie Sheep says. Madame Griselle explains to her students that jobs are more than being in charge. Some jobs like doctors or teachers or a teacher are about helping others. Some jobs are about creating something new like a builder or an artist. Pedro Pony wants to be a superhero. Being a superhero is a very important job. Madame Griselle says you have to run faster than a train, jump tall buildings, and I don't know if I want to do all those superhero things, but I do want to tell bad guys what to do, says Pedro Pony. On the way home from school, Peppa tells Mummy Pig about her day. So tell me what you learned today, Mummy Pig asks. Madame Griselle asked us what we want to be when we grow up, says Peppa. That sounds nice, says Mummy Pig. Not really, Mummy. Everyone knows what they want to be, but I don't. George, do you know what you want to be when you grow up? Mummy Pig asks. Dinosaur, cheers George. You see, says Peppa. Don't worry, Peppa. You have plenty of time to decide what you want to be, Mummy Pig replies. What do you do, Mummy? Asks Peppa. I work on my computer, Mummy Pig answers. Do you get to tell others what to do? Peppa asks. No, I don't, replies Mummy Pig. Well, that's no good then, says Peppa. Soon Daddy Pig comes home from work. What is your job, Daddy? Asks Peppa. I could tell you, Peppa, but I think you'd find it a bit boring, replies Daddy Pig. I won't. Daddy, please tell me, please, says Peppa. Snort. Well, Peppa, I work in a big office and help plan big important buildings, Daddy Pig explains, and I get to carry a briefcase and wear a suit. Do you like your job, Daddy? Peppa asks. I like it, but not everyone would, Daddy Pig explains. Everyone's different, Peppa. That night, Peppa is still thinking. What can I do when I grow up? Asks Peppa. Think of something you like doing all the time, says Daddy Pig. I like jumping up in muddy puddles, Peppa says. Well, Peppa, there aren't many jobs with puddle jumping, Daddy Pig explains. But I am very good at puddle jumping, Peppa says. Yes, I suppose you are, Daddy Pig agrees. When I grow up, I will show everyone in the world how to jump in muddy puddles. That sounds like a very good idea, says Daddy Pig, as he shuts off the light. Soon Peppa and George fall asleep to sweet dreams about dinosaurs and puddle jumping. The end. What is your favorite part of the story? My favorite part of the story is where Peppa wants to be a muddy puddle jumper. Peppa Pig in the Backyard Circus. It's a sunny day. Peppa and her friends are visiting Grandpa and Grandma Pig. Grandpa Pig is using his hammer. Bang, bang, bang. It's a circus tent, says Peppa. Hooray! Everyone shouts. Ooh, says Peppa. Can we see the circus, Grandpa Pig? This isn't a circus tent, says Grandpa Pig. It looks like a circus tent, said Peppa. What is it? It's for Granny Pig's garden party, he says. Peppa doesn't know what a garden party is. Grandpa Pig tells her it's a party where grown-ups stand around and talk. It doesn't sound like fun to Peppa. She has a better idea. Let's put on our own show, says Peppa. We'll call it Peppa's Circus. Granny Pig thinks having a circus at her garden party is a very good idea. Everyone wants to join the circus. Danny Dog wants to be the strong man. Emily Elephant wants to be the juggler. My father used to work in a circus, says Emily Elephant. He did? Asked Peppa. What did he do? Peppa knows that sometimes there are elephants in a circus. He was a ticket taker, says Emily. Admit 1. Granny Pig brings the dress-up box. There are lots of fun things inside. Danny Dog finds polka dot shorts and a stick-on mustache. My strongman suit, he says. Peppa finds a hat. Pedro Pony finds a clown costume and a horn. Honk, honk! Rebecca Rabbit does makeup. Hold still, Pedro, she says. Everyone is dressed and ready for the show. Grandpa, says Peppa, I don't have anything to do. Well, you could be the ringmaster, he says. What does the ringmaster do? Asks Peppa. The ringmaster is the boss, says Grandpa Pig. Peppa likes that idea. I would be the ringmaster boss, she says. Good, says Grandpa. You can say, welcome to my circus. Come and see the amazing feats of daring do. Granny's guests start to arrive. Everyone crowds inside the striped tent. Welcome to my circus, shouts Peppa. Come and see the amazing feat. The circus begins. Prepare to be scared, says Peppa. Is that a tiger? Grr, meow. Rebecca asked. No, it's Candy Cat. Now watch the amazing cyclists. Squeak, squeak. George, Richard, and Emerald. Here's the strong man, Danny Dog. Danny shows his muscles. He wants to show the crowd how strong he is. He lifts Peppa. Ooh, says the crowd. Now please welcome Emily Elephant, who will juggle 2 potatoes and 1 egg. Toss, drop, toss, splat. When Pedro Pony the clown walks into the ring, everyone laughs. Spray! Ha ha ha! Everyone laughs again. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, dogs and elephants, cats and ponies, says Peppa. Thank you for coming to my circus. The end. What is your favorite part of the story? My favorite part of the story is where Danny Dog lifts Peppa. And also I have another favorite part. It is where Peppa says feet, like the foot feet.